Well, hello, my CNC brother or sister. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I'd like to welcome you to this video where we're going to talk about building a CNC business. If you've been thinking about building a business, or maybe just starting out, but you're not really sure how to do it, or maybe you're just downright scared to get started because you really don't understand what you're doing, then this video is going to help you out in a very different way. What you're about to watch is a dialogue between myself and two people named Richard and Cammy. These are two people I have been mentoring for quite some time now, where Richard wanted to start his own CNC business, but at a much deeper level. He was working at a job that he really didn't want to be at anymore, didn't feel fulfilled in what he was doing, even though it was a really good job. And he ultimately approached me and then has since gone into a very different space than a CNC business in kind of a certain way. Actually, we'll kind of touch base on that a little bit later in this little video. But what you're about to watch is the entire journey that Richard and Cammy have gone down from this point of I got to do something else with my life into what Richard is doing now. Richard and Cammy are going to share with you the journey that they've been on, and the whole idea that if you want to make a go at it, you really just, at the bottom line, have to make a decision and a leap and trust the process. But you'll see all the nuances inside of that as to how it makes a difference once you put the faith in and ask for help. So we're going to dive right into this, where you're going to meet Richard and Cammy, and then we're going to start dialoguing about their journey and where they're at now. And there's something very special for you at the end, because when we take this leap into our own thing, we often don't know where it's going to lead us, but it will lead somewhere if you persist at it and continue with faith. And you're going to see that Richard has gone down a very unique path that was completely unexpected, and it's going to take him some serious places. And I hope that you grasp the whole thing of this journey that they're going to be sharing with you, to understand that once you take the leap and you have faith within yourself of doing it and ask for the help, you can get to places that you never ever dreamed of. So we're going to get right into this dialogue with Richard and Cammy, and sit back, enjoy the ride, and wait till you see what happens at the end. Total surprise. Let's go. Cammy, say hello. Richard, say hello.
Hi.
Okay, and so Richard, let's start off with how you found me on YouTube and brought some. You were attracted to something I was teaching, and eventually you contacted me and then asked me to give you some mentoring. And so I had to check you first, right? And then once we did that, then we went ahead and set up a mentoring thing, because I felt that you were convicted in the change that you wanted to go, but I could see that you were quite lost and uncertain, not real happy, but you had a certain drive underneath you. So why don't you talk about the beginning of that journey a little bit and share with those who are watching about this?
Well, first off, I think I found you because I guess I just sensed a general sense of a genuineness from you. And I perceived a lot of, like the first and foremost with you was you just wanting to help people. And the value that you provided on your YouTube channel was really helpful for me in my CNC journey. And I guess that's why I reached out to you, because it's, I feel like you're a lot different than a lot of other people that can talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk, right? And I guess I perceived that, and I really enjoyed it. So to me, it was like a no-brainer to reach out to you, and I was really happy that you wanted to mentor me and Cammy, and I think that's what drew me to you. My CNC journey is kind of crazy because it's a lot different than, I feel like I'm in a different world than you are now. You're in more of a CNC woodworking world, and I'm in now moving into composites. So it's related, but it's different. And I guess I was introduced to CNC when I when I worked as a composites engineer, and we made a lot of composite molds in the machine shop, and I always thought that was pretty cool. I remember when I was in college and I was talking to Cammy, I was having a hard time in one of my classes, and I told her, well, I'll just quit school and become a CNC machinist. And you know, here I am now with an aerospace engineering degree, and I can't get enough of CNC machining. So it's kind of funny, the parallels on how that works as well. But I guess I've always been looking for a CNC. I thought that I didn't know about the world of CNC routers until I came across your channel and I came across others. I thought a CNC had to be the size of a garage and $100,000, but I found CNCs that have the accuracy and repeatability that I need for my business. And I guess I was just thankful of you for enlightening me on that, and this whole different world of CNC routers that is completely counterintuitive to my previous experience.
Yeah. Okay. So there was another aspect about you that was coming to light in this that we were talking. One of the things that I am aware of in a lot of people is a sense of lack of fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
And the desire to have something that's more purposeful to them, that is their thing. And so as we got into the mentoring thing, we dove into that a bit, and you were very transparent up front about that. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that underlying discontentment of, you know, feeling like you're in this kind of boxy 9-to-5 world that wasn't really satisfying you, even though you're in this amazing aerospace engineering thing? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I had a job that I thought I would enjoy, that paid very well, and was close to my house, and it had great benefits and everything like that. But when I got to work, I honestly wanted to cry. I just felt like I couldn't get through the day, and my mind was always thinking about something else to do. And I guess I just felt like I wasn't making the impact that I wanted to be. I felt a lot of that impact when I was an instructor in the Army, and I felt like that was really like my calling, was to help out a lot of people and to guide them on a way that I haven't been able to in a long time. And I think that's where I'm at now. But I guess in my job, where I was just building a part and then continually revising it just wasn't working for me. And Cammy can attest to that. It's, you know, you start taking your work home and it starts bleeding over into your personal life. And I knew I just needed a change, and Cammy knew I needed a change. So she also helped me encourage me to quit my job. So and it's something I don't regret. So I'm very happy about it. We're both very happy about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you in just a moment, Cammy, but I want you to elaborate on this impact thing. You said you want to make a bigger impact. What does that mean?
I mean, I think of it as a legacy. I think of it as like, if you see like some sort of inadequacy in the world or a problem that needs to be fixed, I want to fix it, right? And I get a sense of pride out of that. Now I'm having people reach out to me about their cars, but we'll get into that. And there's things that they would have never thought of that I can quickly and easily find a solution to, or know a solution to, that just from my knowledge base that I didn't even know I had, can help other people. So it's a satisfaction thing, and it's a legacy thing, honestly. So I view it as that.
Yeah, you said the word pride, and a sense of self-pride, and that is a fundamental thing that a lot of people think that I grew up in. So in a world of people that we shouldn't feel a sense of pride, right? That pride is bad, but it's a natural human thing. We want praise from people. We want to feel good about the things that we do, and we know that when we're doing something that we're in harmony within ourselves, and we know it's helping other people, it just feels good. It's not pride. It's a natural good feeling. To me, it's a spiritual level that we have reached, right? And we are in our zone. Let's just put it that way. We're in our zone. Cammy, will you share about your what Richard was just sharing before he has stepped into what he's stepped into, you know, at the beginning of his journey when he was working still?
Yeah, I think that I was able to see a different perspective in him Like we went from moving states and we made this big move. And then he started this job that he was supposed to be really excited about and tried to be really excited about. But every day when he came home, you could just see him just, just not enjoying his life and taking everything home and being very like irritable when he came home and like just very on edge and constantly talking about his frustrations at work and about every little detail. And I just saw it slowly just draining the life out of him.
Yeah.
So when he decided to talk to me about quitting his job and thinking about doing CNC, it was like, well, yeah, obviously I think you should do that. It was like, I saw where he was at and I just didn't think it was a good spot for him.
Right. Will you guys share a little bit about your relationship dynamics? And as we have been under mentoring, we've really brought out and addressed what you two represent as a couple. So share a little bit about that. Cammy, why don't you start?
Yeah, I think everything with our relationship is basically just centered around togetherness. And we tend to do a lot of things together. We're kind of two just goofy peas in a pod.
Yeah.
In that sense, even like Richard has his own hobbies, but I'm always seem to be involved with them, and same with my stuff. Like we pretty much just spend the entire days together and we just have a good time together.
Yeah, I would say the best trait for us as a relationship is communication and togetherness, like Cammy said. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I think everything we want to do is we have to do it together. And I honestly can't get enough time with her. So when she goes to work, I get pretty sad and I'm like, well, maybe when we make enough money with the CNC stuff, you can quit your job, and you can just hang out with me all day. And that's fun. We get a lot of joy out of that. Yeah, it's just wonderful.
Now, Richard and Cammy clearly have a very special relationship that you don't often see, and that gives them a lot of power, I would say, in their ability to take off in their dreams for both of them, because they're so supportive of each other and they just feel like they're part of each other, which they are. Not all of us have that, and that can sometimes make us feel more doubtful in what we're going to do in life, or going down some kind of path that we're not sure about, like starting a CNC business. And that's why we seek help, to find the people that are going to help us. So I just want to point that out, that even though they've got this special relationship going on, does not mean in any way, shape, or form that you can't achieve what we're going to be talking about as this dialogue continues. You can do whatever you want, and you'll understand more about that as we get into this. So let's just keep going.
Just a little side note real quick. You notice that there's a little echoey in their side. They are in the garage. That's where the CNC machine is, and where the rest of this journey that Richard has been on is going to be shown to you in a little bit, which is very exciting and very unusual for a CNCer, or for someone who has gone through a journey to actively deciding to look for that purpose inside. And one of the things that I teach is, when we, in CNC, we want to find a niche, right? And we don't always know that niche, we just don't know. But what often happens is, when you get into that niche, something pulls you in a different direction. It's just a natural course of events. And so the whole point is just taking the plunge and diving in and trying. Now, they have gone into a CNC niche, and we can technically call it a failure. However,
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. However, one of the things that most people are afraid of is failure, and failure is simply a step closer to success. It's the perspective that we see in it, and we will get into that. But before we do that, Richard, the next step was, after you approached me, and you and I were talking individually, and then and then you brought Cammy in. But right in that transition, you brought Cammy in. You felt like what you were trying to build in the CNC thing, it felt incomplete without her being part of this mentoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And So just about that time, you would talk to me, and you got very transparent with a lot of things, which is what's required in a mentoring relationship, right? Because if whatever you hold back is going to be the thing's always going to hold you back because you're hiding from it, right? And so you were really good at allowing that stuff to come out, and it's hard to do that. It's humbling and scary, right? So what? That's when you told me you wanted to walk off at the job. You felt done. So will you talk about that transition and what happened, and then we'll get into some of the really good stuff that we're going to be talking about.
I felt like I just woke up one day and I said to myself, I don't care about the money. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't wake up and not live the dreams that I want to live. And I guess you were a good sounding board. You were there, right? You were an engineer, and you were, I guess it took a lot of the fear out of quitting my job. I think we're getting a little bit, okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Disconnected there for a second.
Yeah.
Did you hear me okay?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but that's okay. We got the gist of it. So, okay. Yep, we're getting a little disconnection going on again. Yep,
Yeah,
there we go. We're back.
That's all.
That's okay. We didn't lose much of you. We're good. All right. So you finally decided to make the jump, and one of the things I want to ask you is, when you were doing that and you went in and talked to your boss, you told me something that you said to your boss. We were in that space of becoming aware of psychology, and that everybody's got that dream, and most people aren't willing to go after it.
Yeah.
Right. And when you were talking to your boss, talk about that a little bit.
Well, he was a great gentleman. I like working for him. He was another car enthusiast like I am. And I sensed this a lot from a lot of my coworkers and my boss, and, telling them what my dreams were. And the first thing he said is, oh, that sounds great. Like, oh, but I wish I could have done that. I wish back in the day I could have done a consulting for, engineering or something like that. And I'm like, well, you still can, you're a young gentleman. Like, what's the problem? Like, oh, I'm too old. I can't do that. It's the negative beliefs that are holding a lot of people back. And I think that a lot of people do have dreams that they want to let out. And I think that they think about them a lot more than they'd like to. And I noticed that with my boss, especially that he had a dream and he never pursued it. And I think it ate at him a lot. And it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, your boss, he was older than you. How old was he?
Maybe 50.
Okay.
About 50 years old.
All right.
So in my opinion, he's pretty young.
Yeah, but it's interesting. So, you're I don't even know how old you are. Wait, 30, right? We'll just say 30. You look like you're about 30. Am I about right? Yeah, no problem. Okay, but you felt exactly the same way beforehand. Yeah. Right? So this idea, this concept of feeling too old, like, oh, is there any time left? That time is running out. That is subjective to what's up in here. And the minute that we do that is the minute that we have given up on our hopes and dreams, or allowing the world, the beliefs, what you just said, limited beliefs, to hold us back. And there's no time. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. I'm 60 and I just got my business going. I just hit my rhythm right in the last couple of years. So, and now I'm just getting started, just like you. Okay, so you quit your job, and your wife, Cammy, is ultra supportive of it, which is you talked about that being the permission thing. That was actually on this next stage that you went into, right? So you guys quit. We'll get to that in a little bit. So you quit, and we got zoned in. And so talk about the products that we were trying to develop. And I want you to share about what you learned behind that, about the relevance of business establishment, what you should really be looking for to attract business, and to talk about that whole process. Even though this whole thing was a failure in your eyes, right? It wasn't. So I want you to talk about the aspects that weren't the failure, but talk about what it was so we know what it was.
Failure. The thing that we're most afraid of. That's why most of us don't take the leap into the things that we really want to do. Like, you want to get into a CNC business, but you're afraid you're going to fail. Failure is your step towards success. In fact, the fear of failure is what holds you back from achieving the success. Failure and success are married together, and we have to experience failure. It's a natural part of business. So the whole thing I want to share with you right now at this moment is, if you are afraid to fail, then you will always hold your back from achieving your dreams.
So I like watching your videos, and this is where the mentoring really helped. But you just said find a niche, find something, build something, sell it. And I said, well, that's easy. Okay, yeah, I'll make coat hangers and coat racks and key racks. And there are these beautiful key racks, and they were very well built, and they had, you know, these high precision dados with these shelves that were just beautiful, and nobody bought them, right? So it's a perspective that made me realize that we were putting the cart before the horse. And going in our mindset now is, okay, we have to realign our vision with what the market wants. And it doesn't really matter what I want. I can think that the coat rack is gorgeous and that everyone would love it, but at the end of the day, I'm not the one that is putting my credit card information in. And it really, in my mind, it comes down to value first. So I feel like if you give a lot of value, you're going to receive value at the same time. And I don't think that in that business, we were giving out a lot of value. I think we were just trying to sell something, and we were trying to get it out and get another one in, and it didn't work. And it's a mindset shift that I had to change myself. And it's something that you helped me with as well. So that's where we were at.
Talk about your perspective on people now, as someone who's transitioning into business. We're gonna coin this as the consumer mindset versus the business mindset, right? So the consumer is the employee, right? Or the person who's just going out shopping or watching Netflix or what have you. And then there's a business end. These are the two aspects of humanity when it comes to money making. So money making and money spending. So talk about what you're learning about the business end that you didn't know before. Cammy, you can share as well.
Yeah,
you can always jump in.
I feel like our first trial taught us a lot about figuring out what an avatar is, and who would be the people actually purchasing products. And we found ourselves trying to find who would buy these coat racks, and for us, unfortunately, it was nobody. But it taught us how to go out and look for that, and where to be looking, and how to try and find this certain person who would be buying our product, and then also trying to advertise towards them. And I think that's what we learned a lot from our failures.
Yeah, it was people. We needed to put people first. I think we built the product first, and then we tried to find the person. But what we should have done is we should have found the person and then built the product to suit their needs. And that really comes down to research. I think what I was like, oh, I got the CNC. I'm all eager to build something. Let's just build it and just, get all excited about it and sell it. And
it's going to fly off the shelves.
Oh, I'm just going to, I just got to cut at, instead of 60 inches a minute, I got to cut at 100. So that way I can get more out, but it doesn't matter, Yeah. So
it didn't really work that way.
It didn't work that way. It didn't work that way at all. So it's hard, right? Because as CNCers, we want to just build stuff. We want to get in the garage and start cutting and swapping out bits and doing all these cool inlays and stuff like that. But it's the wrong way about it, and it's hard for us. It's hard for technically minded people like us.
So what's the failure in that? What's the lesson learned in putting the cart before the horse? In this case, the cart before the horse is you built the product without the concept of who wants to even buy it, if people even want it.
The lesson in that is to do the research. I really mean it. And a lot of people are gonna be like, yeah, whatever, yeah. But it's to do the research first is the main lesson that I learned the hard way. And Cammy and I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Is to find the groups, become part of the group, understand the people that are in the group and understand their needs, and then tailor your value hierarchy to their needs.
And to be genuine.
To be genuine as well. Yeah.
Genuine about it, and not just trying to sell a coat rack to a random person, but genuinely doing things that you believe in and trying to provide people value.
Yeah, and I guess we kind of viewed people as like a number, right? Like, oh, get it in, get it out, sell it. You think that kind of antiseptically when it comes to like Etsy, right? Like somebody's just, some people are going to click on it and they're going to buy it. But it's not really like that. Like there's a person behind that they're trying to satisfy an emotional need behind the product that they're buying from you, whether it be a coat rack or a cutting board or a keychain or anything. So if you satisfy that emotional need and you understand the emotional need of the person behind it first, I feel you're going to be a lot more successful than just trying to sell everything and anything.
So let's talk about research for a minute and what Richard and Cammy just shared. Many of us CNCers, when we get into business, we just start making stuff because we think it's cool, or we just make it and put it out there. We have no clue who we're putting in front of, why we're putting in front of, and how to attract their attention. And that's why research is vital. Richard said it. He emphasized, do your research. They found this out the hard way with the coat hangers. And I can tell you why coat hangers didn't take off for them. Because a coat hanger is a coat hanger is a coat hanger. I don't know of anybody on the planet that actually looks at a coat hanger and says, I've got a coat hanger, right? But he had to go through the journey of that we did work through that to start to do research on the customer. And it took a little time, but they started to get that it's just a coat hanger. It doesn't matter how pretty or good looking it is. It's just a coat hanger. But the point is had they done the research up front, then they would have started to realize that maybe this isn't such a good thing to go after. But most of us have to go through that type of thing up front. That's why I say failure is good, because as long as we take it as a lesson learned and look at the lesson as to why it failed and learn from it, then we can avoid making those mistakes the next time around, and we'll get closer. And they're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But it really comes down to, if you do not research whatever products you want to make and understand the customer's going to buy it, you are always going to miss the mark. It's like having a dartboard on the wall 50 feet away and trying to throw darts at it blindfolded, because you have no clue what you're going after. Getting into a business mindset and understanding that there's a person on the other side that has feelings and desires and needs is vital to a successful business. Let's keep going with Richard and Cammy.
Dive into that a little bit about the emotional need, because I think just when we say that, I'm not sure whoever's watching this will understand that. So can you dive a little bit deeper in what you mean by that? Why you found that that's important? What is an emotional need that you have learned through this process?
I think every need is emotional, right? Like let's say you're trying to apply for a job. I think there's more of, let's just say hypothetically, just roll with me on this. Let's say hypothetically you're trying to apply for a senior position, or there's a position that says entry level. You're going to try to apply to the senior position to satisfy this sort of craving in you for respect and admiration and belonging, as opposed to like an entry level position where it just has a different connotation. So I think everything that you purchase, whether it be the house you have, the car you buy, the ring that you wear, even the super glue that you buy, is to satisfy an emotional need. And that can be honed down to such a distinct level where it isn't you're trying to buy a bottle of super glue. You're not trying to even glue the joint together. You're trying to sell the product that will satisfy you, that requires glue, and then this is the solution. So it's just a lot more deeper level.
It's kind of like the drill bit. People aren't buying a drill bit; they're buying a hole. Is what we are told, but that's not the truth. We're buying a drill bit. Nobody wants a hole in the wall, right? So we're not buying a drill bit to make a hole. We're buying a drill bit to make a hole, to put the bolt in so we can hang the shelf up, so we can put all our goodies on it. So my wife is going to say, honey, you did a great job. We're going to get the praise and the self-satisfaction that we did a good job. That's what you're talking about. And so, okay. So, yeah, so this is the fundamental thing that most business owners miss when it comes to CNC business. And in fact, almost all businesses across the planet don't understand this thing that everybody buys out of emotional desire. They do things out of emotional desire. You quit your job because your emotional desire was you wanted purpose and you felt your time was running out. You had to do something about it. Cammy's emotional desire in this whole thing was she wanted Richard happy because a happy Richard makes Cammy feel good, right? Ultimately, everything that we do in life always comes down to our own selfish desires, right? And so we give because it helps us, but there has to be the ebb and flow. Otherwise, too much giving with nothing coming back makes you not feel good. And that's what you discovered in your first failure with your coat racks in some ways, but you learn the lesson. So you moved from coat racks to cutting boards. And then we dove in quite a bit deeper and you built the website and what have you. So let's talk about that before we get to the really cool transition that you made that you and Cammy have kind of brought together. Let's talk about the cutting board journey and what you learned in that and how you felt the mentoring gave you the insights that you got out of it.
That was a lot closer. We were very close, but no cigar on that one as well.
You did make a couple sales on that.
We did. So we were satisfying some sort of need in the market, but it wasn't. Looking back at there's a sense of disingenuity to us, even though it seemed at the time very genuine. And I guess that's what we perceive looking back now. I think that we took what we had from the coat hangers and the key racks and the lessons learned in that, and then we put them into the cutting boards, and we got a lot more success. We actually had buyers come in and buy our stuff, and we gave out a lot of gifts to family and friends, and they never stopped talking about it. So I guess in that aspect, it was a lot more powerful. I sensed, well, you and I both sensed that there was an emotional need that people were trying to satisfy, and but it just didn't have the success that we wanted out of it as well. So is there anything you can allude to on that?
I guess I felt like we were just a little bit off the mark on it. And I guess we were kind of filling some of the emotional needs that people wanted, but we were just missing something, and we just couldn't figure out what that something was. I think like with more time, like with our mentoring, I think we got a lot closer. Yeah. Like diving deep into like who our avatar would be and who we're trying to sell to. And I guess it felt more genuine to us because it felt more like our family and like our family members. And so we were able to relate a lot more to our avatar. But I think we weren't, I don't know, I guess I felt like there's a little bit missing because it wasn't really like Richard's like true passion. He's kind of the mastermind behind all the CNCing, and I'm kind of more of the supportive role, but yeah, I felt like the passion was just kind of missing there for us. Yeah,
Cammy brought up a great point with our family. I've had a hard relationship with my family, but Cammy's family is so genuine and caring and really made me feel like I have a new family. And I guess I kind of tried to portray that into our business. And I think that's why we got a good amount of success out of that. And I think that's why it was a lot easier than the coat racks and the cutting boards, because we understood the underlying like emotional need to have togetherness in terms of our cutting boards and like gathering around the table and enjoying good wine and cheese and stuff like that. So we understood that emotional need, but it's very hard for us to pin down exactly what was wrong with it. But there's something in our heart that just didn't feel, it just doesn't feel right, and it's extremely hard to pin down. And that's what I think, that's what makes this business stuff so hard, is because it's either, it's just, if it feels right or if it feels wrong. That's really what it comes down to.
And it felt more right.
It felt a lot more right. Yes.
It felt more right than coat hangers, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even this, you encouraged us to try and start making YouTube videos, because Richard's always wanted to do YouTube.
Yeah.
So you kind of gave us the permission to try and do that. But looking back now on those videos we made, we feel very cringy inside.
Yeah.
So there's just something missing there.
Yeah. Now, when I look at other YouTube videos, I sense some sort of negative disingenuity. And it's something that when I make YouTube videos now, I try to nip out entirely. And I can tell when someone has like 95% of it, but that last 5% is missing. And I think that 5% is the difference between like success and failure.
You know, talk about that in ingenuity, or the ingenuous type of thing that you sense, because once you get to a certain level, you can start to pick it up, and it almost makes you want to cringe and, oh my God, you know, there's a certain sense of deception that, or selfishness in a negative way that person is presented. Talk about what you have become aware of in that as a result of us doing what we've done over the few months that we've been doing it so far with the mentoring.
I guess the best example is the YouTube videos that we're doing now. I try really hard to do nothing but give out positive energy. And if there's a problem wrong with it, I try to always portray like this positive mindset. And I think people really like that. And I try to be very genuine with it. But there's other individuals that are, they're making decent content, but the tone of their voice makes me feel like they don't really have the same sort of enthusiasm and care and compassion and love for the hobby that I do, and it shows. So that's really what I sense, and I didn't sense that before. So it's really this kind of sounds kind of like in the ether a little bit, but the energy that you put out into the world is what you're going to get back. So if you give out negative energy, you're going to get back negative energy. And I really do believe that. It's hard to compartmentalize to someone that like wants to think kind of logically, but it does really make sense. If you know, I've seen it now. So
I'm going to stop and talk about what Richard and Cammy have discovered in this journey of what they've just pointed out about ingenuity or ingenuousness and integrity. When we buy something from somebody and we have that subtle feeling that it's just a sale, Walmart's great, right? Or any shopping experience at any retail outlet, you're just there. When they're checking out, did you find everything okay? Right? It's so mechanical. When you present and give first and give with authenticity, with who you really are as an imperfect person, people are going to like you a lot better, because they're simply going to trust you more, because you're being real, you're being who you really are. You're not trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, and you're not coming across with a negative sense. The whole thing that Richard pointed out about the negativity is, if we're in it for ourselves and we're really not caring about who's on the other end, there's a negative energy there, because we're not caring about the customer on the other side or who's learning from us. So you really have to get humble and just realize you're a person with the same feelings as everybody else. And it's okay to express it. In fact, people want that because they're afraid to express it. And when you come across as the authentic, caring person, and you really truly care, and you're imperfect, it gives them permission. And that has a very deep resonance with them that will connect them to you and your products. Let's keep going.
Back to your cutting boards, and we went through a lot of discussion as to what's the underlying essence that you want to present here, which is what most people don't do. So talk about what the theme, the underlying emotional theme, and that we worked out, and why we worked it out that way, and why it was so important. That the reason I'm asking this is because this is part of the journey of seeing what other people don't do, what they're missing, and how to get underneath into those what we call levels of emotion. There's always three levels. I want money because I want a house. I want money because I want a house, because I want to have a sense of ownership, right? So there's always a third level. So talk about that the theme that we developed, why we developed, why it's so different. Go ahead.
Well, the key racks were not, they didn't have a theme behind them. But then the cutting boards, we had a theme of togetherness. And that is an underlying theme that we really tried to portray in all of our marketing and all of our images and everything like that. Like, for instance, we'd have a cutting board and then our hands would be touching just slightly, just to show that, you know, this is kind of what the emotional attachment that you're going to receive out of it if you buy this product. That was really the theme that you kind of helped us nurture a little bit. And even in our ad copy, like the descriptions that we used to promote these products, it had that sort of emotional connotation behind it. And that really helped with the ads, but there was just something missing that we weren't seeing.
Yeah, I think we got into like the togetherness and family, and we kind of based like our avatar off of that. So I guess to talk on that a little bit, like we were looking for, you know, families that are close and tight knit, but maybe like the mom, all the kids, and she's an empty nester, and she's trying to bring back that sense of family and togetherness. So I guess that would be like our third level emotion that we were really looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other things that we dove into with this, that we created, was everybody, let's just go to Etsy and cutting boards, right? Everybody's got beautiful pictures of this. They make beautiful cutting boards, you know, but what nobody does is capture the essence of what a cutting board is. It's something in the central part of the home that is creating part of the creation of we paint the essence of the family gathering, right? And so, and yours was togetherness as a couple, and we did a lot of work on that, making sure that the images that you created had that, all the way down to what?
The rings.
The rings.
Wedding rings, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to jump out of this dialogue for a minute and talk about what Richard and Cammy just said when they said the rings, the wedding rings. What do wedding rings have to do with cutting boards whatsoever? Well, you're about to discover why you need to pay attention to who you are selling to, that you need to understand the person at the other end. If you are getting into business with your CNC machine, you absolutely must understand that there is a person on the other side of that deal, the sale of your product, that is just like you. They have feelings, emotions, desires, and they have ambitions. And it's all too often, not just in the CNC world of business, but in business at large, that the majority of business owners and companies fail to realize or forget that there is an individual with wants and needs on the other end of the sale. So we are going to go into Etsy here and make a point that I hope that you get before we get back to Richard and Cammy and talk more about their journey. Since they were getting into cutting boards, we had to study their market and who they wanted to sell to. Who was that person on the other end? What were their emotional needs that they wanted to have fulfilled? And so we had to study what everybody else does and then we had to study that person. So in this example, we're just going to talk about what everybody else does. So we're looking at cutting boards on Etsy, and I want you to realize that there are two things that virtually every CNCer does when they are posting their stuff on Etsy. People are visual first, and that picture that they see has to represent something, and you're going to find that most people don't represent anything other than a cutting board. So let's just dive in here. So what we see at the top here are 4 different beautifully made cutting boards. From left to right, we've got what looks like a walnut type of thing with some other maybe maple going through it. It's got a tomato on it. The next one is various different types of cutting boards. The third and fourth are what look like end grain cutting boards. And very beautiful, all of them are. And we're going to ignore things like this, this, and this. So we want to look at this one here. Another beautiful one is personalized, which is what we're really good at as CNCers. We can personalize our stuff. And they've got a little bit of food on there. So now it's representing a cutting board. Now here we have 1, 2, 3 pictures of 4 pictures of very cool cutting boards. This one has epoxy pour in it. This is personalized with some beautiful olive leaves or whatever. Plain picture. And then we got more with food and a knife here. Another one of food and knife. Food and knife. If you notice, you start seeing a pattern. It's either a picture of a board like this one, or it's a picture of a board with food on it and perhaps a knife sometimes. And if you really think about this, you're starting to blend in. Every one of these is starting to blend in into these 2 little segments. One is just a picture, or the other one is a picture with food on it and maybe a knife. They're all beautiful, but they're missing something. And because they're missing something, they are all average. They're blending in to the noise of what everybody else does. We're going to go to another page on Etsy and look at the same thing. Again, they're all the same types of pictures. They don't stand out. They don't send home an emotional essence behind it. So now let's take a look at Richard and Cammy's picture of their cutting board. And take a look at the stark difference. There are a number of factors in here that make this stand out. Number one is it's not just a knife and food, but it's being used by a person. There's actually activity going on here. And then there is a couple. There's a man and a woman. And herein lies the rings, all the way down to the wedding rings, which they are not married at this point. They're engaged. And they weren't even engaged at the time of this picture. But the point is, we have to set up this very subtle essence of the emotions of the person you want to attract. What they were talking about before was a disconnect between who they're trying to sell to and why it didn't feel right. And I think just in recording this little segment for you, I think I've nailed it, is because here is a couple. It's not necessarily representing the empty nester who's trying to come together with their family. This is representing a couple who is young. It's just them, but it is a togetherness theme. And even with the glasses of wine, those are all intentional. Now there's another glass here. In this picture, the other glass was not in the picture as it should have been. The thing I want to point out to you is the board is a board is a board. It's the things that you put in around that, the periphery, that are going to subtly send the feelings of what you're trying to accomplish, of where you're going to connect at a much deeper level with the person who's going to buy. So this immediately just sends home the feeling of this is something that we're doing together. So I'm not going to pick this apart too much more, but there's a lot more depth to this than meets the eye. So when you are coming up with whatever products you're going to bring to the marketplace, You have to understand your customer, and you have to understand what's going to trigger them. And that's what Richard and Cammy have learned from this, and why it was so important to get wedding rings in here, because it had to be about togetherness and bondedness and doing things together as a couple. And that's why we had to go out, or they had to go out and buy fake rings to get their picture positioned in the right way in the customer's eye for the one that they want to attract. All right, let's get back into Cammy and Richard.
Well, we're engaged now, and that's always lovely. But before we were engaged, we bought these fake Amazon rings with fake diamonds in them, and we put them on for the staging and the photographs. And it's just the subtle it's such a subtleness to it that really makes a big difference. And
Yeah.
when you see it versus it not being there, it's drastically different.
Mhm.
You can even see this in catalogs. Like if you get a catalog in the mail, like pay very close attention to the colors they use, the lighting they use, the
If they have
background.
rings on.
If they have rings on, it's all meant to be there very specifically. So I found that to be very fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It makes you much more aware of marketing now and
Oh,
what
yeah.
people present to you. A picture is not just a picture. Whatever you make as the person who's watching this, and whatever you make and however you're presenting it to the world, you want to get outside of the idea that this is what it is. It's a cutting board. It's not a cutting board. It's a means to a feeling. It's a tool to bring you to an amazing turkey Thanksgiving dinner where the family is going to be together, and that's the kind of stuff that you want to get down to. That's what we probably spent a month working on just that whole concept. That's how important it is. And the thing is this all starts in the mind to become aware of this stuff. And when you create your pictures, it's not, what I was saying, it's not just a picture of the cutting board, it's the periphery that sends the message home, that creates the feeling. We see the cutting board as okay, that looks good, it's a piece of wood, whatever, and we're looking at it intellectually, but it's the periphery that we are seeing it subconsciously, that's setting the emotional stage for what it represents. And that what it represents is an emotional value of some sort. And so you always want to stage your stuff and theme your stuff around that emotional value. That's why it's so important to get into what we call the avatar, your ideal customer, the people you want to sell to. If you're trying to sell to everybody, you are selling to no one, you're going to do terrible. And we don't want to sell to everyone. We want to find that particular group of people, because once we know that and we understand it, they will be gravitated to us. But if we don't have clarity and we're doing all kinds of different things, we project that out to the world, to them, and we create lack of clarity in their own minds. And when people are not clear, they won't buy. If you can build crystal clear clarity in their mind of what your thing is, and you can get that clear emotion that they are trying to get hold of, and make that clear and connect it to your product and to you, right? You got them sold. They will buy. It's hands down. And Richard, your cutting boards weren't cheap.
No. One caveat to that is that you didn't illustrate is it's all about solving their problem. Their problem is, I have an emotional need that needs to be satisfied, and this product is going to do that for me. It's going to make me feel together when my son comes home and my daughter comes home from college, and we're all together around the dinner table and we're cutting up the turkey dinner. That's what they're looking for. That's their problem, and you're there to solve it. So no, they weren't cheap. I think I know where you're going with this, and it's selling these products is not a race to the bottom. People will pay for them, and it really comes down to knowing your worth. So if you think your cutting boards are worth $100, then they're worth $100. And if you think they're worth 200, then they're worth 200. And if you think they're worth 1,000, then they are worth 1,000, right? I'm not saying you can sell like a bamboo cutting board that you get from the Dollar Tree for $1,000. Maybe you can. If you can, I want to hear from you. But but it's all about how, if you value yourself and you value that the value that you're giving out into the world is worth a certain amount of money, then you're going to get it. So it's all about that positive energy thing again, I guess you could say.
Yep. And that points out two things. It points out, number one is why we do the avatar research. We don't, otherwise we will naturally gravitate to the cheaper crowd. And the second is you get a measure of your own worth, right? And if you're having trouble thinking that if you're selling a cutting board, a walnut cutting board, right, for $40, you're not making any money at all. But if you're not able to raise that price, then you are in the lower class, the lower money spending mentality. And so that's, I mean, we all have to go through that adjustment. I think you had to go through some of that as well.
Yeah. I did. That was one of the hardest things for me is seeing value in myself. And it's something that I guess was really cool on your end was, even when I was in like a negative energy space, you still kind of brought it back and said, okay, well, Richard's in a low energy state. Like, let's try to figure out ways to bring his self-value up. And you really brought that point home when it came to me finding my self-worth and finding value in myself before I could provide it to anyone else. And I think that's kind of where we transitioned into now. And that's where we're at now. And I think that's one thing that you really did a lot of. And it's just a mindset shift, right? It's a cognitive shift that I think is, looking back, you're like, obviously, like that's clearly, yeah. So it seems crystal clear now, but before it's kind of like we were in the haze a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of talk about that as well.
Yeah, I think that mindset shift for him was a big deal, but I think that you were really able to bring that out for him. It's like, I feel like I was kind of on the back end trying to tell him that too, but I think it's just hearing it from our mentor that helped him get over it and figure out his next route.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So before we take you into your next step, okay, I want to go back to this mindset thing. And when we step into something like what you did with the mentoring and where the journey is taking you on, right? There's a certain, you can't see the future. We cannot see the future, right? And so you have to take a jump, right? So you had to actually take a leap and say, okay, I'm going to see if I can get this guy. And I charge for a reason, right? I charge because people don't respect free, you know, and it's a sense of commitment. And so you were at that point where you were ready to take a leap, but you couldn't see the future. What was your feeling at that point? Because you just talked about where you're at now, and you can see the road behind you, right? It looks crystal clear. It looks like a nice paved highway, brand new. But when you started, it looked like nothing but weeds and what have you. Just talk about that a little bit from the other side.
Well, that was really scary. I mean, having you as a mentor was very helpful because it's like, okay, well, he's been down this treacherous, scary road before. So I know if he can do it, I can do it. And I know that if I work hard enough and I don't give up and we do the right things and we listen to you, even though sometimes it's easier not to, I know we're going to achieve success, whatever that may be. And I think that alleviated a lot of stress for me, knowing that, hey, listen, you can do this and you can be successful and you can achieve it. You can achieve your dreams, but you're going to have to take the leap. And I think that separates a lot of entrepreneurs from a lot of other people is they're too scared. They're standing at the edge and they don't want to jump. And I think that willingness to jump no matter what and keep jumping and keep jumping and keep jumping makes all the difference in the world.
How many times did you want to run backwards?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Too many.
Yeah.
Right.
She won't let me either. She won't let me at all. She holds me so accountable. You know, it's
accountability buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you call each other accountability buddy. Okay. You know, so one of the things that you guys have is that sense of, I want you to achieve, right? And that is a sense of giving first, which you talked about before, Richard. You have to give first, and that always returns in they call it reciprocity, right? We give back because we're given to. We have a sense of indebtedness, and this is a very high level sense of indebtedness where it just feels good going back and forth, and it's so natural. You're in harmony, and your vibrations are going up at the same time. So the idea of togetherness, you guys have a very magic bond, as we have talked about, that even I envy. Okay, so let's come to the near present. And I think what I'd like is for Cammy to start to share about this next transition that you went into. That I want to precursor this, to go back to what I said in the beginning. When we get into our venture, we're willing to step out into it. And in this case, Richard get into CNC, and then part of the underlying emotional reason was he was more interested in getting out of his job that was sucking his soul out, basically, than whatever. And I always say, find a niche, whatever you're passionate about, just something, just go into it, start to learn it. And almost all the time, we are going to be drawn to something different. And so that has happened significantly with these guys in a direction that I think, I'm not sure, was almost not even visualized when this whole thing started. So I never saw it coming either.
Now, we've covered a couple of things here that are really relevant. Number one is the idea of self-worth. And the other one is being willing to jump and take a chance at going after your dreams, feeling like you are worth going after your dreams. They are very much connected. If we don't have enough self-worth or faith in ourselves, then we're not willing to jump. And Richard pointed that out, that most people are afraid to jump. And then you realize and learn that you have to keep jumping. It's scary going into business, and it's scary to charge what you're truly worth. But it's so much worth it once you get there. It is a mindset thing. It's all about how you perceive yourself, and that's how you perceive the world, and how the world's going to perceive you, and how the world is going to respond to you. So we've covered quite a bit here. And at this point, if you find this is giving you some aha moments or some inspiration, give this video a thumbs up, and I'd love to see a comment at the end. And you might want to subscribe, because I teach you about all this kind of business and all the stuff that people don't normally teach about business, as well as CNC routers and the designing of your CNC router projects. So we are about to get into the big transition that Richard took by virtue of being willing to jump into the unknown, which has brought him into a point of something he's very passionate about. And he's not focusing on the money. He's not focusing on trying to earn a living. He's focusing on giving. And that, by the very nature of his passion in it, will return financially in rewards that he has not realized yet, and it's going to be monumental rewards. It'll be really fun to watch this journey, but we're going to start to reveal this big transition, the big thing that the self-worth, this willingness to jump, has enabled Richard to do, and the business that he is now getting into. Watch this.
Cammy, why don't you open the door on this transition that happened, and then we'll let Richard talk about it.
Okay. Richard has always had a passion for cars, and I've known this about him since I've met him. It's been very clear to me that he just loves cars, and I think almost entirely like supercars, and has always wanted to have one. He wants to build one. This is what I've been hearing for years. So you had us writing down our goals every single day. So every day he's writing down that he wants to buy his dream car by next December. And so every day we're writing this goal down. Richard secretly always looks to try and find his dream car online anyways. So he's been doing that for years. And, you know, he's saved up money to buy it probably right when we met.
Yeah, years ago.
Years and years ago.
Yeah.
But just never bought it. Always was trying to just not have to go to work and just try and save for retirement. And so I guess that's kind of the backstory on all of it.
Yeah.
So then we're writing down these goals, and his perfect dream car pops up online, and he tells me about it for a couple weeks. And then we had gone out to dinner.
Oh yeah.
We went out to dinner, and he's like, I feel like I need a car. I need that car. And I'm like, then do it. Let's buy it.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, then we woke up the next day and he's like, did you just tell me to buy that car? And I was like, I can't do that yet.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do that. And then I think it just kind of like kept going into it. Then we were still writing our goals down every day. And that was still his goal, was to have the car by next December. And I think that this car that was up there was it was his dream. And you could just tell that his passion and soul was in it. And I think it was just, I could see it eating away at him like every single day, that he wanted this car so badly. And he set himself up for having this car for years and just wouldn't let himself have it. So I think that the one day we just woke up and I said, I think you need to buy the car. And he's like, you're right, I think I do too. And he's like, but what is Garrett gonna say? Like, our cutting boards aren't even selling that well. And I'm like, I have this feeling, I think you need to buy it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got us started on all of this. It was still that underlying emotion for you.
Yeah, it really was. It's just such a weird perspective. I've had the money for years and I've saved it up for years. I was the individual that was really trying to save for early retirement. If you've never heard of it, it's like early retirement, extreme kind of financial independence kind of mindset, where you work for 10 years and then when you have enough money in stocks, and this was working, where you have enough money in stocks, you can quit your job and live forever. And to me, that I look at it now and I think it's like a negative mindset, like a scarcity mindset. And I think that was a big shift for me from, oh, I can never have enough and I'm not worth enough, to why can't I have enough? Like the world is full of abundance, right? Like there's a big mindset in the world where it's, there's not enough money in the world. There never is enough money. And there is, right? It's full of abundance. The world is nothing but abundance. And that's a big mindset shift that changed in me, that kind of promoted me to jump into this completely different avenue. So that's really what changed in my mind.
Yeah.
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 So go ahead.
So then we went and we picked up his dream car, and slowly we started to realize a couple things wrong with it.
Yeah.
Richard's like, why don't I just build these parts for it? So that's kind of the avenue we're going down now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I imagine anybody who's watching is going, well, what the hell kind of car is this? So Richard, why don't you show this change from you're going to CNC, trying some things out. You did a lot of self-discovery. You just said you realize that your self-worth has come up, has turned around, right? That we don't have to wait until this idea of retirement, which most people don't even know what retirement means. What are we going to do at retirement? No one ever asks themselves that, right? It's just retirement. And then when they get there, they're going, shit, what the hell am I going to do now? But you have flip-flopped, and you told me during a mentoring that you felt like you needed Cammy's permission. She was this is the tight bond between you two. You know, that was the health thing that took you over the edge. And so you guys went out and bought it, and talk about what you've done. You get to do the grand reveal here.
Okay. Going with the side. So I bought my Lamborghini. and I've been looking for this car for years, and it's a very special car. It's a Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera, and they only made 150 of these in the US. So very rare and unique car. And I've been honestly looking for this car in this color, this trim with every single just perfection for so many years. Like I think I've put more mental energy into looking into this car than I have with anything else. And it's just so natural for me. When I first got the car, I made a YouTube video about it. And I was like, Cammy, nobody's gonna watch this video. Nobody's gonna watch it. And then the next morning, I look on the YouTube and there's like 2,000 views on it. And I'm just like, I'm just talking about my car for the last 20 minutes. But it's so natural to me now. And it's so, it makes so much sense. And I think that it's just accelerating us into totally different aspects. Where like I'm really viewing everything's value first. Like I briefly went into this, but I had it even on my YouTube channel. I had a gentleman reach out to me. Hey, I have a problem with my car. I really need help. And the only reason I was able to help them was because I had all this knowledge about Volkswagen and Audi cars beforehand. And I said, oh, I got the problem. I got the solution for you right here. Just this little piece. And then you can bolt it on. And he's like, I would never have thought of that in a million years. Thank you so much. And I got like a whole sense of gratification just out of that. And I think that is such a big difference than the other business ventures that I've done in the past, where instead of building the product and saying, hey, buy it, it goes from, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help the community? What can I do to make more of these cars on the road for a longer period of time and to help you out? And I think that's really the gigantic shift in my mind with that. So it's big. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Cammy, share
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
I think it's a big shift, but I think that it's also, if you guys can't tell, kind of where his passion lies. And I think that it really just buying the car has like really brought it out of you. And I think that the feedback that you've been getting by making these videos and helping people work on their own cars is just, it's very natural. And I think that I can see it even looking at like your videos that you make, and
Yeah.
I think that it's huge.
Yeah. It's nothing but positive. That's what I have to always keep in my mind, is always positive energy, always positive, no matter what. And that I think really will separate us from everyone else. So.
Right. Cammy, how would you describe Richard's energy, personality, what have you, from before Richard and I actually connected to now?
Yeah, I would say that before, he's always been like a very motivated person and always wanting to do more. And I think that at his old jobs, I think he just always felt so frustrated. Like he's like, they don't give me enough to do. I'm getting all this done. There's not enough to do. But when I ask for more, they give me this BS work to like press a button all day. And you can just come home and like just see it draining on him. And I think that his energy was just in a very low state, or, you know, he felt like he wasn't able to provide the value that he was able to. And I think that was the main thing that always wore on him. And I think that now, and even when we first started, when he came to you, I think since quitting his job, he's had so much more space, mental space, to be able to, I don't know, work on his own stuff and to be able to try and provide the value that he wants to put out into the world. And I think that that's just made him so much happier. I think he went from feeling very stressed out and full of anxiety all the time to being someone who's just able to put out good energy out into the world.
Yeah, just natural.
Yeah, you made a really good point about the mental space, or the mental bandwidth that's available to us when we are not happy, fulfilled, even at deeper levels where we just say, oh, this is just the way it is, the way it has to be, but you don't like it. That's taking up mental bandwidth in a negative space. And so what you just described was, by getting rid of that space, he's been able to take up that, and it takes up a lot of space, by the way. Wouldn't you agree, Richard?
Well, it takes up, it's pervasive into every aspect of your life, right? So it bleeds over into everything. It bleeds over into your family and everything. So it's not good. It wasn't good for me.
Yep. We have to kind of wrap up here, but I do want to ask some final thoughts that, from your perspective of understanding the world that you have come out of, and Richard and Cammy, seeing all this, and Cammy, I think we haven't really talked about the changes that you have gone under as well. So I think maybe we'll take a little bit of time before we wrap this up to talk about that, because you have been part of this whole journey. At some point, Richard brought you in because it's like, this is a togetherness thing, right? So Cammy has to be in this. So let's talk about some of the, just a bit of the transition you've gone through that you have changed within yourself because of, as a result of this mentoring and this journey you've been on.
Yeah, I think for me, like I've had a lot of more of a supportive role in things, especially for Richard and our business. But I think for me, it's a lot of just learning kind of the nuances of business and of marketing and how to really understand people. And although like cars and the cutting boards and all of that, it's not really like my jam, but I think it's really helped me, like your mentoring. Like I'm going to medical school and I had a bunch of interviews, but being able to kind of read people and relate to people, I think for me was really impactful. And even like I was talking about earlier, writing down our goals every day has just been a big change for me. And then also being able to kind of organize my time and like dedicate energy into our business and where I can help out the most and really be supportive and help boost up our own business. And Richard and being more of the butt kicker and keeping Richard accountable for what he's going to be doing for the day. I think it's just helped us really be on the same page, which I think is really helping our business grow.
Yeah. And the same with you, as accountability is holding us together. So our weekly meetings have really helped me to become accountable, and it keeps me on the same track, right? Because it's easy to shift into the previous mindset because it was so comfortable, and then bring it back. And I mean, even with you, it's teaching you about business when it comes to opening your own private practice eventually. So it's like understanding people on that level as well. So it's really paid dividends. It really has.
Yeah, that's a good point. It pays dividends over the long run. Whereas just the typical business person's mentality is, give me the sale now. There's no dividend payment. The dividends are over the long haul. You know, when you understand people and that there's a person with emotional needs and desires and someone who wants to feel special, right? And when we become aware of that, then we can feed into that and make them feel special and genuinely do so. And that brings them back for more. And that's what value creation in people's hearts and in their emotions equals financial returns. One of the things you said, Cammy, was the supportive role. And there's two things I want to point out here. Is number one, a person can only grow in their business or go as far as they can as their spouse will let them. Right, there are spouses that say, you know, you can't do that, right? And that resistance will hold you back from going after what you want. And so this is one of the things that I just want to put out there, because you two have this. I want you to get there, and I'm going to support you. And I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's going to be hard. There's going to be dark times or struggles, what have you. But so it's much more than a supportive role. It is the framework that's going to build up to get you there, right? So I just want to make sure when you use the word supportive, how monumental that role is, because without that framework of what you're doing, Richard would have a much harder time. You provide energy to him that he doesn't have within himself, right? And that's why many of us, we can only get to a certain level, and because we can't we don't know where to draw the rest of the energy from. And so you play that role. Richard, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think I would be anywhere close to where I am without Cammy's support. I don't think I would own the car for that matter, and I think I would be miles behind where I am. I think it's a foundation that really built me up, and I think she's always supported me. And I think even of her dreams, it's continual support that's the most important thing. And I think that is critically important in any relationship, right? I think it's hard to follow your dreams, you know, especially your dreams, Cammy, and it's taken you a long time to get to where you are. So, and I've tried really hard to support you with that, and I've enjoyed every second, and I look forward to continuing to support you like you have me. So it's critical. It's the most important thing, really, because we wouldn't have anything else other than that. So we didn't have that. So it's really important.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about this framework that Cammy is for Richard. Often, us as individuals, we don't necessarily have all the strength that we need in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And so when we have a supportive role from a spouse, as Cammy is playing, it's huge, huge, huge. And so you want to tap into your spouse or find that supportive role if you don't have a spouse. Hire a mentor or go get into a group of entrepreneurs, people who are doing it. And one of the really important things is start to shut off those that say you shouldn't do it or you can't do it or good luck with it. Right? Luck has nothing to do with it. It has to do with your inner drive and the supporting world around you. That's why I get into masterminds and I hire mentors and groups of entrepreneurs, because they have the right mindset that I want to be in. And I stay away from negative people or people that say I can't or people that say good luck, I hope you get there. Because it's not about hope, it's about the heart desire, and I'm committed to myself to achieve what I want to achieve. And you can do the same thing if you get that commitment in your heart and make sure you put in or find those that have the energy that you need to support that whole structure behind your dream.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So as far as their future dreams, we'll hold that for another video.
Yeah.
Richard has got some very amazing dreams, and he's allowing himself to dream big. And Cammy's got some very big dreams, and she's allowing herself to dream big. Right. So we'll just keep them in suspense for a while on that one.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up on this whole journey you've gone on, and what you would want to share with somebody who's in the position that you were in 4 months ago, Richard and Cammy. I want both your perspective from your own world. So you guys choose who gets to go first.
I'll let you go first.
I think when I was growing up, I had a father that was really in business, but he always urged me to say, oh, well, you can start your business. We'll talk after you get an MBA, after you get your bachelor's in in engineering, and after you do this, and after you do that, and after you do this, and eventually you're never going to do it. And I think it's something that made me realize, no, there's no right time to do this. There's no right time to follow your dreams, because your dreams aren't going to follow you back, and you just better do it, because there's no better time than today. And you might think, okay, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough this, or I don't have enough that. And I know everyone else's personal lives and situations are very different. Like, I wouldn't recommend quitting your day job if you have children, of course, right? But you can still do it. And I think that that level of adversity is really important as well, and overcoming that, and it helps relate to a lot of people as well. So the more struggle you have. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, and I think my take is very similar. Like, if you have a dream and you have something that you want to do, or you're just miserable at your job, and I think that there's always going to be a way to figure out how to get yourself out of there. I think that everybody's going to have some different obstacles. And I think that also reaching out, I think if anything, it's finding support. So even if you're just reaching out to other CNCers or talking to people like Garrett, who was in a similar scenario as Richard was, wanting to quit his job, and, Richard reaching out to try and get the support from Garrett of how to do that and looking for that permission to do so. I think that it's just really important to reach out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yep. So I think what the two things you guys just said was, number one, you're not alone in what you feel, right?
Mhm.
And to be able to share that with another and to ask for guidance is really important when you feel stuck. And that's what Cammy just shared. What Richard just shared was your dreams aren't going to wait for you, right? There is no perfect time. You may not know what you want, but you have to take a leap in the direction and trust that it's going to happen. And we don't understand that and feel that until after we have done it and have started to make progress.
Yeah.
You're walking into a fog, and it's really trusting the process. And I always like to tell people, if you look through your past, you have always made it. You always made it. So, and there have been many times where things have happened. This is just a little bit bigger leap into your spiritual calling. And I think both of you will agree that once you do that and you go through the challenges of letting go of that old thinking, it is so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we are going to wrap up. I want to thank both of you for taking some time out to share your perspective, because I think it's important. I think both you understand now that other people need to hear this kind of stuff to start getting the permission in their own hearts. I can only talk so much, but when it comes to other people who have been down the journey, you can relay it in a very different way, that you're in your own way, that other people can relate to, that are just looking. So I want to thank you for taking the time out to share here. By the way, you can always go visit Richard on his channel, and please subscribe. His channel is called The Bull Rider, and he's got some very cool videos about his Lamborghini Superleggero. I can say it now.
You didn't say it right, Garrett.
I didn't say it right?
No,
Superleggero. Leggera, yeah. See, okay, so I still can't say it right.
We'll get there.
We will. Yep, and you'll see what we're talking about. That it's very natural for him. Never would he have been able to do that if he didn't take the leap.
No.
So, all right. Say your adieus, guys, and we're gonna check out.
All
All
right.
right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
We have reached the end, and now you see the entire journey that Richard and Cammy have gone on by virtue of taking a chance in life and saying, I'm going to get some help from somebody who knows the ropes, who's been down that road, and trust that individual that they really want to help me, and trust myself that I can actually do it. And that's what Richard and Cammy have done. And they are now both naturally in this place where Richard is feeling quite fulfilled. He's in his zone most of the time. He's freed up all that bandwidth, and he's got Cammy who also feels better, because any of the draining that Richard was feeling, it inevitably trickles into the other people that are around us, because they feel our lower energy. We dump it on them. So you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. You just have to trust the process. Make the decision and trust the process. Have faith in yourself and find the people that are going to have faith in you. And you can get wherever you want to go in life. The sky is the limit. Actually, there are no limits. And once you can get that kind of sense in you that there is no limit to what you can accomplish, then your world will take off. I promise you. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. If this was helpful to you, give me a thumbs up down below. I'd love to see a comment. And I hope you have a great day, a better tomorrow, and an amazing future that you create yourself that fulfills your own spirit. I'll talk to you next time.